So the state of Texas announced the other day they're going to start busing illegal immigrants. More than 1 million have come through Texas in the last year to Washington, D.C. And we criticize that. I mean, it's a pretty funny idea, but the real question is, how do you keep people who have no right to be here out of the country in the first place? And actually, to be fair, the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, may have come up with a plan to do that. So the governor of the Nuevo Leon province of Mexico has just announced he promises to curb illegal migration north. He's doing this in response to something that Greg Abbott did. Abbott imposed strict safety checks on trucks coming from several provinces in Mexico. So this is a huge economic problem for Mexico. Abbott said he'd lift the new requirements if the Mexican government of these provinces agreed to do something about the migrants. And one province has now agreed. We hope that others soon follow. We wanted to hear more about this from the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, who joins us tonight. Governor, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, Tucker. So what we have done is we implemented what we call enhanced safety inspections of every commercial vehicle coming across the border, of every border crossing from Mexico into the state of Texas. And it had the predictable result. And that is snarled traffic for miles into Mexico, basically crashing economic conditions in these states as well as in the country of Mexico, and having severe economic consequences for businesses in Mexico. And the predictable result is that these governors of states that are connected to the state of Texas would be knocking on our door begging for relief. And as they beg for relief, we are demanding that they implement security measures that will reduce illegal immigration coming across their border. There are different standards that we will be applying to different states that are connected to the state of Texas. Yesterday, we announced an agreement with the governor of Nuevo Leon. Today, we are hammering out details with 2 more states that are adjacent to Texas, that have border crossings in Texas, that will have some different measures that enhance security, that stops the flow of illegal immigrants from their states to the state of Texas. And then there will be one more state governor that we are dealing with tomorrow to try to hammer out details with them. Altogether, we expect and we demand that on the Mexican side, they finally step up and stop these low water crossings and other actions that are allowing these illegal immigrants to cross the border. If they fail to do that, we are going to continue with our right to inspect every single vehicle coming across that bridge into the state of Texas, regardless of the economic consequences it poses to Mexico.
So, I mean, this suggests that politicians in Mexico have been abetting this mass migration into the United States. It's about to get worse, as you know, next month when the Biden administration lifts any kind of COVID restrictions on immigration. We're expecting a huge wave into your state. Do you think this is enough to stop it?
Listen, this is a meaningful step to reduce it. There are other measures that the state of Texas has taken to make sure that we are addressing this as fully as we can. We are the only state in the history of America to build a border wall. We're laying down miles of razor wire. We're putting boat blockades on the river to prevent people from coming across. We are turning back people who are either trying to cross the border or do cross the border, turning them back. Those who make it through, we are arresting and putting in jail. So we are using multiple strategies to reduce the migration into the state of Texas. Tucker, one consequence of this, you may see heightened migration attempts in other states like New Mexico and California, where they are being less resistant as Texas is. But our job is to make it as difficult as possible for the cartels to get people to move people across the border in the state of Texas. Our goal is to put the cartels out of business, make them lose money trying to smuggle people into the state of Texas.
Yeah. I mean, Texas is all you can control. You're only the governor of one state, and this seems promising. Governor Greg Abbott, I appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Tucker.
Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel to catch our nightly opens, stories that are changing the world and changing your life. From Tucker Carlson Tonight.